Hi there, welcome to another Must Be Farm cooking video. My name's Mary and today we're making one of my favorite fall recipes, an apple galette. Basically, it's an apple pie without a pan, so it's sort of rustic and really easy to make. First, we're going to make the crust. I have 1.5 cups flour that was chilling in the freezer for the last 30 minutes. Then to that, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of sugar and 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm going to whisk that together. Next, we're adding 1 stick of butter that I also have chilling in the freezer. And what I did before was I cut it up into 1/2-inch cubes. And now we're going to add that. And we're going to mix with a pastry cutter or dough blender, pastry blender, just until the butter starts to break up into pea-sized pieces. And the reason we want the pieces to be cold is because that helps our crust be more flaky. That looks good. Next, we're going to start adding some ice water, 1 tablespoon at a time. So I've got a measuring cup filled with water that I've placed a few ice cubes in. And we'll add 1 tablespoon. And then done with the blender, you can start mixing with a large spoon or a spatula, and then eventually we're going to use our hands. 2 tablespoons. That some of my pieces are still a little big, so I'm going to mash those a little bit. And a 1/4 tablespoon. If it's not coming together, maybe you need a little bit more water. Just a tiny bit to start, because you don't want it to be too sticky. Okay, let's see. Now as I start to bring it together, we're going to scatter some flour on our surface. So we're just going to bring this dough together. All right. So now it's pretty much into a ball shape. If yours is too crumbly and you just can't get it together in a ball, put it back in the bowl and mix together with your hands 1 more tablespoon of water into your mixture. That should help until you can get it into a ball. So we've got it into a ball. Going to flatten it into like a disc shape. Flour on the top and the bottom so it doesn't stick when I store it in some wax paper. Okay. There we go. And you have to make this ahead of time because now it goes into the fridge for 2 hours. So it'll be nice and chilled. So now that our crust has been chilling for at least 2 hours, it's time to make the filling. We're using Granny Smith apples. Basically, you just want some type of apple that's used for baking, and especially for this type of pastry, we chose something that's not too juicy. So ask your apple farmer when you go to the market which ones they recommend for baking a pie. Okay, so we're going to, I already peeled them. Going to core the apples with this little tool. It cores and slices them, so that's pretty nifty. You're going to use 3 to 4 apples depending on their size. So we throw away the cores, and I took those sections and sliced them till they were a little bit smaller, about a 1/4 of an inch. And you also want to check the pieces to make sure no rough parts of the core are left, and you might have to trim those off. So anyway, we'll add that to a bowl. And then to that, we add 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. 1, 2. And then we are going to add the juice of half of a lemon. If you are particular about not getting seeds in your dessert, you can do this over a like a sieve or a sifter. I'm doing it through my hand. I'm not getting any seeds, so that's good. Next, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. And a pinch of salt. Now we mix this all together with a nice big spoon or a rubber spatula so that all the apple pieces are coated. So we'll put this to the side, and I lightly floured our nice flat surface here with a sprinkle of flour, as well as our rolling pin. We have our oven preheating at 400 degrees, I forgot to mention. And I also have a baking sheet ready with parchment paper that will help prevent the bottom of our crust from burning. Okay, so now we take out our crust that has been in the fridge. And this part is going to take a little bit of patience. And if you don't have a rolling pin, you can get creative and maybe use a large, heavy bottle, like a glass bottle that you have, or I don't know, something that's large and smooth. Okay, so I'm starting to apply pressure. I always start kind of in the middle, and then I'll rotate, and just keep doing that. And it's not going to flatten out all at once, but the longer you have it out of the fridge, the butter in there will start to soften, making it easier to roll out. So starting at first just with some short rolls, always starting from the center and turning as you go. So I've been rolling it out for quite a few minutes now, and I just want you to remember 2 things while you're doing this. Keep turning it, make sure it's not sticking. Anytime that it is, you just add a little bit more flour. And also just remember to go very gently and take your time with it. Also know that it doesn't have to look perfect. I had part of it broke off before, and what I did was I just rolled it out and laid it on top of here, and then basically I patched it back up. I don't know if you want to see that, but like this part's a little split, so I just kind of push it back together, and no one will ever know. So now that this is about a 12-inch circle, I'm going to lift it up carefully. If you've got any sticking happening, you can use a spatula to help you, but we're going to lift it up carefully. Put it on our baking sheet. Add our apples. Giving it another mix because a lot of this stuff has settled on the bottom. So I've left a 1.5-inch border around the fruit, and now we're going to fold up the edges, and it'll kind of just pinch together wherever the dough tells you to. Okay, so that is how you fold up the galette, and if it looks like it's coming apart, just give it a little press, pinch it together. Now we're going to make a little egg wash to help make the crust look nice and golden. Using 1 egg and 1 teaspoon of water. Whisk that together. And we might not use all of it, but I'm going to use a little brush. Brush the edges here. Now we'll sprinkle some sugar on top of the crust, just a little bit. Okay. We'll put this in the oven for 40 to 45 minutes, and we'll see you then. Okay, so we just took it out of the oven. Our oven runs a little hot, so it was actually done after 35 minutes. You want to take it out when the crust is starting to turn golden brown and the fruit looks tender. You can also check the tenderness with a fork. Okay, so we'll put it on a plate and serve and enjoy this nice rustic apple galette, perfect for the fall.